It's people who claim to be God's people who chant things because they hear it. So the chant begins to spread. And all of a sudden, even the leaders of the Jewish church are crying out, "Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!" And in order to make the people go away, this terrible Roman judge says, "Do what you will. I wash my hands of it, but take him." Now comes the problem. The scourging was death. It was not the cross. It was the scourging. The fact is that this was accomplished by people who were known as lictors. They would have something that had a handle and unequal lengths of leather, sometimes twined or braided, sometimes just simply hanging on their own. In the ends of some of those leather lengths were iron balls to give weight to that scourge. Then there were broken teeth of sheep in other lengths, so that when the iron balls gave weight, the teeth would cut into the skin. They would hang the person who was about to be scourged, tie him at the top of a long wooden distance, and strip him of all of his clothes. Then either one or two lictors would take turns making an inverted V on his back. So one would come down this way on this side of his back going down. The other would come down this way on the other side of his back going down. They would start at the nape of the neck and come all the way past the buttocks, cutting open the skin with the scourge. They were supposed to only do it 39 times, but even the Bible says that they would go further than this because they wanted the life of this man who claimed so much power, claimed to be the Son of God. So on the second time that they came by, these terrible leather lengths went underneath the skin that had been cut. And they started going into the skeletal muscles. They would pull flesh from underneath the cut skin, so that when they came down the second time, coming down the same way, in the same wounds, the flesh of the Son of God was torn away. And then he was left at a moment when he was almost dead. But here's my experience, the power moment. The Bible says, with his stripes, oh, how I love Jesus, for he stood there and let him do it, because he knew every time they hit him, there was a fountain filled with blood being filled up, a reservoir of healing power, so that no matter how deep my sin may be, every time they put a scar on his back, they gave more power to save me from my sin. With his stripes, I am healed. I'm sorry that they beat my Jesus like that, but I'm glad I am healed by the stripes they put on his back. Every time the devil says that I can't make it, I point back to the stripes. I say I'm healed by the stripes you put on him. So you were dumb to do what you did, because you filled up a fountain. And today I am saved by his blood and by his stripes. What they had done before, they had taken those 2 to 4 inch, those thorns, twined them together, put them on his head. Remember that his skin was already fragile and thin. Blood had already oozed through it. They pressed it down on his head. And then they took the stick that they put in his hand as a scepter and beat it on his thorns. Drove them deeper into the skin of his face. He was already stained by blood that had oozed through his skin because of the trauma of the suffering. Now the thorns dig into his skin. And then they take him from that place, wrap a garment around him, taunt him, spit on him, beat him. Dogs ran beside him. And as they ran, they talked about his parentage. Somebody made a cruel joke about his mother, who claimed that she had a virgin birth. And I don't know the names that they might have called him in their language, but what they said was, "You don't really have a daddy." Can you imagine what God must have felt? They're telling his son he doesn't have a daddy. God could have grabbed the earth and hurled it somewhere. But because God so loved the world, he allowed it to continue. So now, having wrapped Jesus again, they put upon him the cross. There is dissension now. I know most of you have seen the movie. I finally saw it. And I know that they have the tall cross completely on the back of Jesus. The American Medical Association disagrees. They say that the vertical part of the cross was in place, and that it was only the patibulum, the horizontal part of the cross, that weighed from 75 to 125 pounds, that they bent him over and put it across his neck and then tied his hands to it. Let me tell you, if Jesus could have stopped being human, he would have walked that thing forever. He'd ask him, "Where's the rest of the cross?" Is this all you got? But he could not carry the cross as God. He had to carry it as a man. He had had a ministry that involved walking, so Jesus was in great physical condition. Everywhere he went, he walked. In fact, from 9 o'clock on Thursday night to 9 o'clock on Friday morning, he had gone without food, without water, without sustenance, and he had only been betrayed and beaten, and everything that you can imagine had happened to him. And this is the human being upon whom they put this patibulum. And humanity carries it for a long time, attesting to his physical fitness. There are some people who see Jesus as some wispy little genderless figure. It's not my Jesus. I believe that when they put it on him, his muscles rippled. He had worked with his father in a carpenter shop. He did not make birdhouses. They carried the wood from one place to another, sometimes over 2 hours, just to get to the place where they worked. And then they built houses. So when you saw Jesus walk, you did not see somebody who looked like he was vulnerable. In fact, every man who could have seen Jesus, if it had not been that God did not want his physical appearance to draw us, if God had not made it so that we did not become drawn by his physical appearance, Jesus would have been so muscular that every man would have wanted to be like him. He would have been so handsome that every woman would have swooned when she saw him. But he's in Isaiah, it says he had no form or comeliness. God didn't want you to follow Jesus because of what it looked like. He wanted you to follow him because of his love. So he was built so that you didn't follow him because of that. However, I'm telling you that he carried that thing until human power could do no more. That was this black man. I apologize to everyone who cannot take immediate pride in the fact that he's black. Just come on and experience the power anyway. I posit to you that if Simon had looked weak, they would never have chosen him. So he must have been a real black man. Listen. It takes a real man to be able to express sensitivity. If you have questions about your gender, you can never shed a tear. You can never be touched. You got to always be strong and macho. But if you're a real man, if you cry, you're still a man. It's a man crying. If you show sympathy, you're still a man. So this man showed sympathy, and the Roman soldiers saw it, and they saw he was powerfully built, no doubt, and saw that he was in sympathy, so that you come here. He didn't volunteer. Let's don't make it better than it is. But they called him, and Simon carries the cross, and when he carries it, it changes him. You can't carry the cross and stay the same. There's reason to believe that his whole family was changed because he